I'm so excited to welcome you all to Happy Go Lucky at Heart podcast. I have a mission to support others with undiagnosed autism to get a diagnosis because my mum fought a long battle. But please don't go, because this podcast is for absolutely everybody, especially mental health too. And I mean everybody, because I will share with you lots of unique yet personal stories from all age groups. So please meet your host, Vicky Kidson, otherwise known as me. Buckle up, because it's going to be a long mission. So enjoy and live life to the full. Welcome to my show. In this chapter, we have Talk to Tom. It was an amazing interview, so please give him some love. Without further ado, here it is. Let's get into a conversation starter of horsemanship and animals. Dressage is all about the relationship with you and the horse. So having knowledge with natural horsemanship or something like that is really useful. Yeah.
What made you go into that? If I may ask.
Because I just like, I just have an affinity with animals.
Yeah. So, well, to be honest, but I love wildlife as well. So, particularly like for me, I love wolves. Hence why I love, I think I've got 2 books based on wolves itself, and and which I find fascinating, and they kind of really, set a scene. Really, I think they're majestic. I think that's the word for them. Every time I see one.
Mental Health Awareness Week this year is actually nature and the environment as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect, because when I do, I'm doing something for mental health for everyone, and then I work in the Wildlife Trust as well. So it's kind of like a good combination of, encouraging people to go outside and use nature, and and especially like in Shropshire, I think as well, in Oswestry, is there's some really nice little good pockets of nature reserve sites, or just like Llanymynech Rocks, Clunkers Common, all those kind of like little pockets. It's beautiful areas and stuff. If you ever have a chance to look around for nature and stuff, so it's one of my favourites.
One of my mum's friends works for Shropshire Wildlife Trust.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I might know her quite well then. Yeah. She's so knowledgeable, it's unbelievable. So even if I go, do you know what this plant is? And she goes, yeah.
Tell me about yourself and talk to Tom.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, my name's Tom. I'm based in Shrewsbury, and I've been, working with Shropshire Wildlife Trust as well, on top of doing Talk to Tom. And Talk to Tom is for everyone, and it's for anything that you want to come and talk about, basically. And it's just trying to encourage everyone to break away this stigma of you not talking about certain issues that you might find uncomfortable. I think I would say this really honestly, I'm a great believer in free therapy, in terms of talking like us two now, and being really open about conversations. And it's like you automatically have like a confidential ways if you're talking to someone.
I personally don't like just relying on medication with mental health, because I hate it when people say you're stable on medication, because mental health is not that simple, and you associate it more with physical health, because you're more, I'm cured. But I think coping strategies are better than a cure sometimes, and talking is much better. My mental illness is is who I am today. So any condition is part of you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I think coping mechanisms, if once people are sharing each other's coping mechanisms of how you deal from a day-to-day mental health, I don't want to say the word illness either. It's like, because I always feel like sometimes everyone has episodes of mental health, that sometimes they may struggle with a certain emotion, and that's totally fine. I just think we all, as a community, need to support that in the best way as possible, and make it a safer environment. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think we should just like call it health.
yeah, so true.
I don't like separating anyone, like having mental health and physical health. Like we wouldn't separate people's gender, religion, or race.
No,
So why
not.
health?
I it's funny when you hear physical health. So if you are injured and you've got like a scratch on there, on your arm, and then you go and mend it, it's because we've been trained up to do all these kind of treat your wounds as best as possible. I think there's still more time to for people to kind of learn about the mindset itself, and because I think, I don't know about you, but would you agree, like there's still more to learn, if that makes sense, in terms of
especially more to learn about the stigma and
like I'll be honest, like, so I've been doing Talk to Tom for the past, like, last August. So what made me do it, I would say, was that a couple of areas. Basically, my other half basically found out that there was a young lad who decided to take his own life at the mid-age 25, I think it was. So and that was pretty sad, to be honest, in all honesty. And I never met him, but I think I've said this before, actually, to some people. When you see someone from your personal background, like personal family member or something that is affected by what happened,
it's easier to have something similar, like, because of the stigma and prejudice, it's hard to realize what it is, because it's totally different from what you think.
And it was one of those things where I wanted to take action, and it was one of those things as well, I didn't know how to do that. So I never thought in my dreams to kind of even think of, how about if I named it Talk to Tom, because it wasn't just at that time. So, and then I think the light bulb came across when I went to say
it's a good name, because it's alliteration.
It's the triple T's, and it just kind of flows on the tongue. So pretty happy about it. So, but yeah, so it kind of, there's lots of reasons how it started. So, like, I got familiar to going to a coffee shop, and I don't know about you, if you ever sat in a coffee shop, and it's quite nice seeing people. Sometimes they have a little nice, like, chit and chat on the other side of the table, or you're just a people observer, all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of went to me, and I went, what about if I just had like a little sign? And this is how it started. So I just asked for a piece of paper and a pen, and I just wanted to test and see what people's reaction is from writing up hashtag Talk to Tom. And so I still got the original scrap piece of paper saying hashtag Talk to Tom, and it needs to be framed, but like it was that's where it started. And then a couple of areas as well with my mental health, I would say my health, should I say. Obviously my gran passed away in last year. Really kicked in. So So we didn't have, as a family, very much time to grieve. So we, obviously this is a way for me to kind of, talk honestly to, people who need someone to listen to and someone to talk to. So it's kind of a nice counterbalance, really, altogether. So
yeah. So did your mental health problems inspire you?
Yeah, definitely it's inspired me. I think especially when this is where it kind of really, I was like, right, I'm going to do this. It was when, a lad who I was at the gym with, and I was trying to like do a bit of workout, what gym's like, workouts. It's like, oh, Jesus, tired. But there was another lad who came in, and there was all sorts of things going, not his way, in his way direction. If that's the best way to describe it. So, and but because the environment in that gym was very positive and very like, engaging, let's do this together, let's keep going, well done. And it's all just positive energy just going like seeding into everyone's mind, that he came up to myself and to my coach, to the coach as well at the same time. He goes, so I want to say thank you firstly, but if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. And I said, oh, what do you mean by like, turning up or something? I was like, no, he means like not being here in part of this world. And that was quite a big, strong statement, because that was a bit of an eye opener. That was, even to now, it was quite an emotional process to kind of take in. Imagine if you saved someone's life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yeah. I can't even put it into words.
Me neither. So I was just like, hey, no problem, man. It's like, we're here for everyone. That's the only way I kind of answered it. But I just explained about what I want to do with Talk to Tom, what it's about. And he was like, look, I'm going to be honest. It's not going to be for me. I think it's going to be really helpful for others. So then that's when it all kind of like started altogether. So for my health, yeah, it has, because it's meeting lots of new people. It's given me like some good, great, fresh feel to, speaking fluently. I don't know if you ever heard of this, but I have aphasia. Have you ever heard of that?
Explain it.
Yeah, sure. So aphasia is like a speech impediment. So where the best metaphor I would describe it to you, I always thank my sister for this, is that me and yourself have got a mindset of a library. And this is a perfect example because you're sitting next to loads of books right now. If you want to formulate your sentence from your brain to your mouth, you pick out the right books to formulate your sentence, yeah?
Yeah.
However, my books are all on the floor. So I'm having to try and pick up certain words to try and formulate my sentence. So sometimes it doesn't come out correctly.
Yeah, I totally understand, because I've had intense speech therapy. I couldn't talk until I was 3. Wow. I've got verbal dyspraxia, and I've got language difficulties as well. So
yeah,
the verbal dyspraxia is like so it's the coordination between your mouth and your
head.
So it can't so you can't get the words out. It's quite similar.
It can be very frustrating, I bet. And sometimes it can,
and I think especially with speech disorders, it does definitely speech difficulties definitely comes with lots of anxiety, definitely.
It does. I think what's really weird is, I'm not, you know, I don't have that kind of sense of anxiety when I meet new people, because that's something I kind of enjoy, and it's kind of given me confidence to, either blurt out anything to start a conversation with people who want it, and it's quite nice.
Yeah, I like doing new things, new people. I'm a bit spontaneous too, but that's probably why I got affinity with animals, because
well, and also they don't talk back, so it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Instead if they bark or they neigh, so like, but it's I totally agree with you. Most obviously we've got two family dogs, so one called Ted, one called Dylan. Sometimes I take them to the park with me to help out some people, to kind of have a bit of an icebreaker, if that makes sense. Just the body language they make, or just the instant love and affection to someone else, it kind of really helps to kind of just have a nice chat, and conversation. So
I think having my dog with me, like, whenever I need to speak, and when I'm really anxious, she often, I think I love like animal therapy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
Have you ever thought of going down in that route?
I would love to do natural horsemanship as a therapy.
That's amazing. That'd be. I have seen kind of stories about what we all know about, like, for example, like guide dogs, for example, and companionship and having the right connection. But like, as you said, like horse therapy is probably one of the. I've seen it once before, and it's kind of it is fascinating seeing it.
I mean, the horse language as well is really interesting, because you have to learn to be quite assertive and be a leader.
Okay.
And I think with mental health, it's hard to be assertive, isn't it?
Yeah. But as long as you enjoy it, that's all it counts, isn't it?
So, what did you do before Talk to Tom?
Just doing. Funny enough, it was just like I was doing nothing like about in terms of mental health. I was just doing my own day-to-day things. I was just like, doing something that I really love, which is rugby, quite a lot. Working, and this is what I think it was quite important, because it's that instant reaction to when someone is affected by it, and it's a complete flip in some sense. So you're doing your normal day-to-day things, like, going to work, seeing your family, doing your own business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, something that kind of you see it. I don't know about you, but I see it quite a lot.
You want to start your own little community.
Yeah. And I love talking to people. I love seeing, like, seeing how they're getting on, or catching up with some regular people from Talk to Tom, or even just like, in town and stuff like that. So
I definitely like getting people to open up. I don't really like when I say to my friends, "How are you?" They always like say, "I'm fine, thanks." And I prefer it if you be honest.
Yeah. And that sometimes takes time. I think, that's when I go, when I start with a conversation with someone that is new to Talk to Tom, I just go, "How's your week been?" And then sometimes I'll probably go into like a different conversation, like saying, did you see, and try and like have like related.
Has to be on their interests.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. If there's something that I've got a Achilles heels, should I say, that once anyone is interested in rugby, I'm straight for it, or I'll listen to it, constantly. So, but but I always try to make sure that I'm kind of like understanding, basically, about, like, with the certain topics they are interested in stuff. So that's why I think there's a bit of good reaction having aphasia, because I need to take time to say the right questions to people. And it kind of really, really helps having aphasia that kind of way, because it just gives me time to explain it, and then it's much more effective with those particular questions.
Yeah.
It's barking.
Is they barking? Yeah.
So it's outside. So I live right next on the street on a very busy street. So these dogs are going for
I think it definitely adds to the drama.
the effectiveness.
Yeah. Dr. Tom is. I see it as a community. Like, is that what it is?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I've always said this from the very beginning. I want the community to almost like guide me what they feel what they want from Talk to Tom, if that makes sense. Because I want it to be like a Shropshire thing, know.
And
so
I think Shropshire's. I mean, moving up here like 3 years ago, it's real. Actually, a lot of people know each other. It's
close community, isn't it? Like quite close net. And it's like if you go to any town like Wem, Bridgnorth or something like that, you know people, and we all kind of like have a very strong point as a community when someone is like leading something, and I try not to boast about it, but when someone is doing something like that is related to what everyone is feeling and they want to take action with it, you start to see pockets of like people coming to wanting to help or support, or you could try this, you could try that, and it kind of really is very special to see, because it's almost like they're coming out from the crowd, or coming out from the trees, if that makes sense. Like, that's how I kind of picture it. When community alive, that's the word for it.
Is building a community one of your favorite parts of it then?
Do you know what? I think I've learned that it is, because through time I've always been like undecided what to do with my life in terms of like job wise, or but now seeing what I'm good at in terms of kind of like I'm a people's person, like, and seeing the community and talking to communities, it's great. It's something that I didn't know that I was going to enjoy so much about. So, I'm so for it now to kind of like build up.
Well, lockdown, how has lockdown affected Talk to Tom?
I think the word affected was probably the word adapted for me with Tom, because I don't know about you, but like first lockdown, everyone was all like, okay, don't worry about it, it's okay, it's going to be done. Second lockdown, you're like, okay, come on, man. Third lockdown, oh god, that was really hard. I think mentally.
Did you see like people connecting like small face to face, but now I suppose because you got social media and Instagram, you didn't lose the community that way. Yeah.
So understanding, like, I wanted to kind of follow the rules as best I can, with the government guidelines and stuff. So, and technically you can meet one person face to face, from social distance at the time, with your masks, and and you could do it outside, because when the cafe closed, obviously that I thought, oh right, okay, I'm gonna have to think of this through. So I first started online, trying to do like, message me if you want to kind of like have a talk to Tom on the Instagram or Facebook. That's no problem. But people tended to have more effect having a face to face, because I think people are sick about doing like a video call on your phone every time, because I think it was just like embedded.
I think video calls for me It actually makes me more anxious than
Really?
face to face, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's all the preparation and,
Yeah.
and the timing
And
and
you think you're talking to yourself as well, so you think you're going a bit crazy, I
oh,
think.
hello, where are you?
Yeah.
No, so when the cafe shut, I just basically went into. I said, right, I'm gonna have to adapt to this. Did a little bit of the online. It wasn't much effective, so I went back into the quarry. So I just continuously from second lockdown to third lockdown, just kept going to the quarry in Shrewsbury and just stood next to Coffee Evolution.
Yeah.
And just waited there if anyone needed it, and sometimes I say message me if you are interested. And yeah, and it's just kind of built up and built up and built up, and it's been great.
What do you want, like, what do you see Talk to Tom in the future? What, any achievements you want to, as like, or just be there for support?
Yeah, I had a little practice because I met up with another person who wanted to kind of have a good chat, and he asked that question as well. So, and I think the best answer for it all is that firstly, I think I would like to have like a safe area, or a hub where
Yeah.
I go to like a regular. I say these are the days are open, and if you want to come see me, you're more than welcome to. So then if people are interested or want to volunteer, and then for me to kind of like explain, like about how you do Talk to Tom, is more in the sense of you just sit there and listen and just ask questions, and then just see where the conversation takes you. Let you be you. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I go to Designs in Mind in Oswestry. I've got like a hub there. There's also Camarado's living room space. Have you heard of that?
I think so, and that's based in Oswestry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have. But does having like a hub help you?
Definitely. I definitely think a community is definitely an important part of, I mean, one-to-one chat, talking to each other. It does help, but having a whole support network
Correct. Yeah.
definitely is
One.
important.
But then I think in a really basic, because I think Talk to Tom is such a simple, effective way of doing something for people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I
yeah.
want to make sure that it's simple for the future. So, you know, just knowing that, I'm going to still continue as much as I can, doing this, on a weekly or, daily basis. And then for people to know that you can come and chat to me if you're worried about someone, if that makes sense, and to ask questions yourself, talk about it. Why do you feel like this and that and the other? And then they can have that kind of plan, if that makes sense, to go and support another friend. And I think it's just basically, it's about, what I'm trying to say is like trying to encourage people to kind of like open up and talk,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
look out for their friends and family.
I definitely, yeah, I think I definitely like people to be more honest. I don't really like lying and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that when you were saying about, like, how are you, and then someone just says, yeah, I'm fine. It's
Yeah.
well, it's kind of like a slow starter, isn't it? So to try and like keep the conversation going, but you do want to have honesty in a conversation,
Yeah.
because then the funny thing is that people would probably feel the same way, or feel, I understand that I've been there before.
Yeah.
So
Like, I think having a community definitely helps people to relate to each other.
yeah,
It helps, and it gets them to open up. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So But I think future wise, just probably, look at it as somewhere I can plant myself on a regular basis to say that there's a hub, for
Yeah.
anyone to come and chat. But sometimes actually it's quite, everyone seems to be excited about me going to like different independent coffee shops and stuff. And
Yeah. You
not only like,
you could have the hub, but you could have both. Yeah.
exactly. So like adapt. So like once a week, like in a hub. Second, the second day you could be just like outside of the quarry or going to a cafe, if that makes sense. So, I've got a lot of support, which is amazing to have. And whatever way I do it, as I listen to how people's reaction is when I think of the idea and make sure it's the right thing for them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's answered your question.
Yeah. What is the one common myth about your profession that you want to put right?
So people tend to think I'm a counsellor, or and
or a Samaritan.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's no, mistake in denying that lots of counsellors and Samaritans do amazing work and help and support as much as people. But I think, that's one of the myths, basically, because I'm not a counsellor.
I suppose with a counsellor, you haven't got that community there.
I just think because because I haven't got a kind of counselling background, and I just to kind of show my support to people. People in terms of the community likes to see that, I think, or like seeing
definitely it. More down to earth and more of a friendship.
Yeah, that's and I'm not afraid about using myself as a conversation starter, and not in a boasty way, but like if another person is obviously saying this is how I feel, and I said, actually, do you know what, I'll say a story because that's exactly how I felt and this is what happened, and then notice this the kind of counterbalance that,
I think people relate to your story. Having people relate to each other's story is just so powerful, I think.
I think it's probably the greatest powerful tool mechanism, I think, for other people. Really kind of opens up.
And the thing with counsellors, they're just there to understand, really. They don't really share their side of the story. Like they don't they don't.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's quite hard because I can't really say how a counsellor does, because I've met or seen people's style of counselling before. So like I can't remember one of them, but I saw like this she staples notes across into like certain parts.
It's definitely more formal. And
correct. I think it's a change rather than
definitely good to have that support when you need it. But it's a change. Definitely.
Especially just like rather than having, and this is one thing sometimes it can be, you want to kind of like counterbalance that I kind of use quite a lot, but rather than having one place, there's a vast amounts of other places that, and also it's places such as like cafes have like a really safe space environment, if that makes sense. Or it's something that is kind of like a normalized area to kind of like make that other person feel completely accepted in society and the community. Does that make sense? I but that's one myth particularly.
If you step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Can you give me an example?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's the most hardest questions to think about. Yeah,
it took me like about half an hour to even answer that one. I couldn't know which one it is. So if I could step in,
I suppose it's very similar because you haven't got counsellor qualifications, so you are like me, but is there I suppose it's really hard from your perspective, actually.
Yeah, I was trying desperately. So so you're saying if I was to step into my boots, is that right?
If you step into my shoes,
Your shoes.
whatever have asked yourself that I didn't, like, what would you ask your younger self before Talk to Tom?
That's an awesome question, by the way. Now, because I've kind of like you've given me that example, I would say to myself that I should have talked. I don't probably just I don't know. It's really hard because I'm more. I've always been like young myself. I've always been like really open and talkative. My other half, she always sometimes jokes all the time. It's like, oh, have you made friends again? And because
I think being so genuine actually helps Talk to Tom and what you do. Actually,
it's just like, you know, I could be friends with someone who I've never met in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's my kind of like nature.
Yeah,
I just think
I hate falling out with people. I always like to keep the relationship as much as possible, to be honest.
Yeah. And you don't want to let anyone down. That's sometimes my biggest challenge or weakness. I sometimes feel like I'm like, oh God, you know, all those kind of things. So no, I try not to, you know, let anyone down. If people go, can I meet you today? And if I'm busy, but you know, I want to kind of make sure that I'm there as much as I can. Does that make sense? So if I was to say it to myself as a younger age, I just think continue what you're doing anyway, in terms of just making friends, or and just, you know, your realization of that fact that you're very much like a, you know, a people's person would click to you, will come click. It will come when you realize you're okay with that. So but yeah, I think there was one thing. Oh yeah, I'll give you one more answer on that one. Is I remember I saw some kid when I was in school on the telly or something like that, and it was basically called the Worry Box. I don't know if you ever heard of that. And it was basically his idea, and I absolutely loved it because you can put a note. So say, for example, a kid like was a bit worried about something, or he's like, you know, either been bullied or just like, you know, anything. You write that note in and it goes to the staff room of the teachers. So, and you could be, you know, you just write your name and what year, and then you can either, you know, fold it and then put it in this like worry box or letter box. So you kind of flip it in. So then teachers, and times where they read these kind of statements, or like, you know, worrying comments, basically, they can read them and then they can go and check up on those students. Kind of sense that, you know,
that's a good idea, and he made Talk to Tom like a more of a doing way of doing things. Like
So we know like talking or saying how you feel can be very difficult. As you said, like, you know, I'm fine, but really deep down there's something needed. But if you're obviously writing it in a pen, and then you've got you know, your
it's a lot. It's
teacher.
You put on a mask.
It's
completely different.
There's a lot of like younger people I know put on quite a lot of masks to
but
hide their.
it's also about fitting in. I think people fit in with the community they're in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be very hard. But yeah, that was one idea that I didn't really excel or didn't finish, and I wished I did do it, because then those kind of ideas could then infiltrate into different schools. But I can always do it. It's not stopping me.
Yeah,
that's the
cool. I think you should.
Yeah. Like a promise on that one. So I'll do like a box, and I need to go and buy some new shoes anyway. So that's one big thing. Not going to change what's been happening so far. Like Talk to Tom just keeps growing and growing. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out of control. But if I keep it simple to everyone.
Yeah, simple is often the best. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So no. Hope that's answered your question, but thanks very much for helping me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
That's no problem. You feel okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. After a bit of talking, it definitely helps.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you start off and you kind of like, oh my god.
It's like laughing therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk and I ramble, or I come, all words just come out of like randomly in place. So sometimes people go, what? So that's always a nice gentle way of just kind of like ice breaking and stuff like that. But I'm more than happy to let's say for the next few months or something like that, we will come and chat again if you want. Yeah, I like to have another one, how you like progress kind of. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, thank you, and good luck with Talk to Tom. Thank you. Yet another wonderful interview. Much obliged for you to stay and listen to Happy Go Lucky at Heart podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please keep on boasting about it to your friends and family. And if you have any spare time, please help an independent podcaster get known. So please leave a 5-star review on whichever podcast platform you listen on, and click the link in the show notes for many more ways to connect with me. Bye! Mwah.